Hello and welcome to the DC United Kingdom podcast. This is season 3. I was about to say season 13, but we're not that far ahead just yet. So this is season 3, episode 18, and I'm your host, James Gray. As you'll see, alongside me, I have got both Daniel and Tom back again. Same guests as last week because they were absolutely fantastic. So guys, it's great to see you back. Daniel, how are you doing?
You know, as I said earlier, before our live recording got hexed by some nasty Nashville
ninja.
A Nashville ninja. I stated that I was cool as a cucumber, but you know what? Let me tell you what, I am fired up like a bowl of mac and cheese with a liberal sprinkling of that cayenne pepper, because DC United has been on fire. And, you know, as I said, about a month ago, if you had asked me, you know, how many points do you see DC United coming away with, you know, with the next, 4 games coming up? And I would have told you, you know what, I would be happy with maybe 3 from the Cincinnati game, which, funny enough, we got 0 points. But besides that game, we have won every game of those 4 games, or 3 of those 4 games we have won against the likes of the New Jersey Pink Cows, the Columbus Barbasol Boys, and your Montreal L'Impact. We have come through this stretch of games that really I thought were going to be the dog days of summer. I thought this was going to be a really brutal set of games to watch. And the boys came through real good. And I'm really happy for the way DC has shaped up since the beginning of the season. Kamara has come into his own. He's elite now. I guess I'm going to have to say it. I'm on board the Kamara Hype Train. So, you know, that's where I'm at. Well, how about you boys?
Yeah, go for it, Tom. How have you felt over this last week? Are you on board with the Kamara Hype Train? Are you coming into the Golden Boot train station?
Yeah, so I was definitely, when we first signed Kamara, I was not convinced, and I'm ashamed to say.
I don't think anyone was convinced, to be honest. But you know,
yeah. I mean, when we had Wayne Rooney, that was like great, and then it was like, this is the replacement, and I was just like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, no, I'm surprised with how well this team has been doing, especially, you know, how we've had seasons of being so spotty in terms of what our record is. And it's nice to actually see some consistency, especially when we have a new coach and they're playing a new system. Like Losada ball, I thought this summer was going to be Losada burnout. I thought we were just going to stop and start falling down and get tired. But no, like, this team has really changed quickly into the way that he wants the guys to play, and it's working great. So I'm happy. Well, the Kamara train is going well. I think there are also some other supporting signings that we've been making that have, you know, just little things that have really made it perfect.
Yeah, it has been such a good year so far. We've already won more games than we did in the entirety of 2020. We've got more points. We've scored more goals. It's just been so good. And I'm just going to put it out there that I coined Losada ball first and foremost. Out of anyone within the DC kingdom, I came up with Losada ball to start off with very, very early on in the year. So you've got me to thank for that phrase. But this show is all about, 1, the Kamara Hype Train, and 2, it's all about the last 7 days. And we've had so many things going on. So before we get into it, the first thing that we need to do is talk about the score prediction update, because we didn't do it last week. But Tom, you gave your first ever prediction on this podcast, and fair play, you were absolutely spot on with 2 things. 1, well, actually, no, 3 things. 1, you got the result right. You got the win. 2, you got the scoreline right. And 3, you predicted a set-piece goal. I mean, you can't get any better than that, but you're still only getting 3 points.
Yeah, so I'll take it.
I lobbied for you. Tom. You saw it. I was like, let's spot him I tell you what, you go with my prediction this week, you're going to get an easy 3 points out of it. So, we'll get to that today.
We will get into that later on. But in terms of the points update, so bringing up the Raiders, Tom, I mean, it was going to be that anyway. So he's on 3 points.
3 for 3.
3, easy 3. I'm in second place on 7 points, and Daniel is in the lead on 10 points. So it is all to play for coming into the second half of the season, the final stretch. I still really don't want to wear that Red Bulls jersey, so I'm coming for you, Daniel. You're going to wear that Spurs jersey. You're definitely going to wear it. So that is the Score Prediction League update. Let's move on to some news. So there's a few things on there, and a few things have actually just happened before we've recorded as well today. But first up, obviously, the Ola Kamara Hype Train is well underway. He's in double figures. So, Daniel, I think you've got to eat your own hat on that, haven't you?
Hey, here's the thing. I ate my hat on the last show. I thoroughly, admitted my wrongness. I even apologized. I gave a sincere apology. I said that I was sorry that I doubted Kamara, and I am delighted by his performance. So, man, if he keeps it up, I mean, yeah, we're just a little over halfway through the season. So, man, you talk about a goal every 60 minutes. Let's keep that going. I would love to see more from him. And, to be honest, he has just looked better and better each week. And if he keeps that up, there's a good chance, and especially with how well Gressel has been serving up those dishes of pasta. Man, we could see an easy 20+ goal season from Kamara. That would be amazing.
You love your food analogies, don't you, Daniel?
Hey, I worked in the restaurant business for a good while between high school and college. So, that was my upbringing right there.
Nice. I think the biggest non-DCU news over the last 7 days has been the fact that Messi did sign for PSG. But Tom, he took the same number as Kevin Paredes. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good tribute to Paredes. I know that Messi really looks up to him, but it's crazy. That team is so good. It's so. But if anyone picks who plays me in the new FIFA, if anyone picks PSG, I'm closing the game. We're not playing because that's just unfair.
That's cheating, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's a super team, and it's absurd.
They still won't win the Champions League, though.
No, they won't. I'm excited for that.
I think they will. I mean, I honestly, they've
got a great lineup, but they're playing in Liga. They're playing with a lot. I mean, people sometimes coin it obviously as the retirement league, but also as the Farmers League. And
right.
I mean, apart from PSG, who win Liga pretty much every year, apart from the odd one. What competition does that league have? There really isn't. So they can't really go out and then play against the sort of the top tier teams and then think, oh, we're on that level, because they don't play that kind of level week in, week out. So they're going to fall at maybe the quarters, maybe even the semis. I just don't see them ever winning the Champions League.
Do we have a? Oh,
you go ahead.
I was going to say, do we have a side bet here? No. as far as the Red Bull jersey, do we have another? If PSG wins the Champions League.
Absolutely not. I'm not taking another bet on board. What were you going to say, Tom?
I was going to say how, if I don't know what I'm going to do if it gets to a PSG Man City Champions League final, like who do I want to win that one? I mean, do I want to see a Man City first Champions League title, or do I want to see, I guess a bigger oil team win it? And it's just like, I'm probably not going to watch that.
No, I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't watch it either. And and that, well, I don't mind watching the English teams playing in the Champions League because, well, my English team isn't even in the Premier League, so I'll just watch anything. But yeah, 2 oil giants in the final. I don't see that happening, but 2, I couldn't really be bothered about it. Other non-DCU news, I think from the looks of it, Daniel, you put this one on.
This is,
go for it.
This is just kind of a backyard story, and I thought it was very funny. So there's a tiny town about 30 miles south of where I live in Aberdeen, and it's Brentford, South Dakota. Now you have Brentford in the United Kingdom and Brentford FC, who are coming back, or actually coming to the English or Premier League for the first time, and actually coming back to top flight English football for the first time since 1947. So kind of a crazy achievement on their part, especially as they kind of wallowed in, the 4th tier for a while and kind of climbed back up and had so many, disappointments with league finals that, NBC Sports actually reached out to the Brentford community organization, and they said, being that you're the only other Brentford in the world, we would love it if you all kind of went to your bar. Brentford is going to send a whole bunch of swag to you guys, and we want to, have you guys send us pictures and video watching the game at the bar. I have no idea how many people will show up to this, because
how big of a town is it?
Oh man, maybe a couple hundred, something like that.
Is that it?
They're gonna have to get the whole town.
You're talking about, and you're talking about, in a area that largely does not care about soccer at all. I'm very interested. Part of me wants to go down there, but part of me is kind of like, I don't know. Being the Arsenal fan, it's like I'd be going down to be like, hey, what's up? I actually support Arsenal. Also, this team's gonna lose. But no, it's kind of an interesting situation. I thought it was a funny little story from my backyard just to talk about here. So yeah, go Brentford Bees.
I didn't even realize there was only 2 Brentfords in the world. There you go.
Yeah.
Right? Crazy.
That is news to me. And we'll move on to the next news point, which is I've got down as Gressel, who we've mentioned already in this podcast. He's moved up the stats leaderboard. So he's now 4th in terms of assists, 3rd in key passes, and 2nd in the expected assists, which just shows how key of a player he is to us right now. I know I've been impressed, and I've been on Gressel mania pretty much since he's arrived, but I know a few people haven't, mainly because he hasn't been providing the assists. But to me, that was mainly down to the fact that we didn't have anyone to put the ball in the back of the net. But now Kamara is on form, Gressel's value has just suddenly skyrocketed because there's somebody there. I don't know what you guys make of that. Do you think that's a valid point, or have you got something else that you would say on that?
Yeah, I think it's really, the amount of times that you see Gressel will take it to the end line, and then when he crosses it, he'll do those low crosses that really just need a toe to tap it in, and it's a goal. And I think his expected assists game is massive.
Yeah.
And he's just such a threat, and he changes the game for DC United, makes that side for either Paul Arriola or Paredes. It makes that side easier for them because now they can work off someone who can also attack.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's the fact that when you've got that front 3 and you've got someone like Gressel put in, that means that front 3 can play a little bit more centrally, attack the box that little bit more, and there's more people in there, so there's even more chance for someone to get onto the end of a Gressel assist. So for me, I'm absolutely loving it right now. It's fantastic. I love the fact that Kamara is getting those goals, and he's got that confidence, and he can just see things that the atmosphere in the team is really, really buzzing right now. Did you want to add anything to that, Daniel?
I've just, I've backed Gressel pretty much all season long. I pointed it out sort of in early episodes that, despite the fact that DC was struggling trying to score goals, you always saw a moment that Gressel was trying to make something happen. And you either had teams, really like stacking defenders on him, or if he did get a cross in, like Tom said, it was the kind of cross that all you had to do was stick a toe out, but the timing was just off, and it really took a long time for this team to come together on that. But now they've really hit that stride, and it's looking really good.
Yeah. So next up, talking about really hitting your stride, we've moved up in the power rankings. So this is something that MLS do every week, depending on the results of the games and the form and things like that. And finally, we're actually getting a bit of respect from the league. After Hernan decided to call that out, which I thought was a bit brave. I'm surprised there was no repercussions on that one, especially when he had to go about the refs, as you would have heard on the last show. But we've moved up 6 places, up to 8th on the power rankings. To be honest, it's the first time I've actually taken notice of it for a long time, mainly because we've obviously not played great over the last few years. But it's nice to see that we're actually getting that attention. I know Hernan's appearing on MLS Extra Time. They're starting to take notice of the coach. They're starting to take notice of the players, because the likes of Gressel is starting to get that national attention now. For me, that's great to see. And I think the more times we win this season and the further we move up that standings, I think it's just the hype is going to build us around. And I think we'll end up seeing us back to where we belong, which is at top of the Eastern. I don't know. Guys, any thoughts on the power rankings?
No, you hit it right on the head there. It's great that the league is taking notice, and they even went as far as to say as this is probably the last time that there's going to be talk about DC sort of battling for that playoff spot. It's not necessarily going to be that type of thing where it's going to be like, is DC going to be in or not? It's DC's in. So having that kind of acknowledgement of, hey, we belong, that's all we were asking. DC rules the nation. That's it.
I mean, what else can you say to that, Tom?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's about time that the team got respect, and it's nice to see. I'd like to, again, on Hernan, I'd like to see his passion for the club and how quickly he's come around to it, because he knows that the fans are passionate, and he knows that it's one of the oldest MLS clubs. It's the club.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that he's really taking that in stride. And then with the power rankings, very American thing. Power rankings, very American thing.
Yes,
but no, it's nice to see, and hopefully we keep pushing up.
Absolutely. So next up is news that's come out actually from today, which is the 12th of August. I had to think about that. I could just looked at the date in the bottom corner of my screen. We record this on the Thursday. We generally normally go live, but we've obviously had some issues, as Daniel rightly mentioned at the beginning. But news from today, Ramon Abila, also known as One Chop. Abila, One Chop, like Paulo One Chop from back in the day. There's a throwback there for you. Paulo One Chop, what a player he was. And hopefully if our new One Chop can do the same, I'll be happy with that. But he's been on loan from Boca Juniors to, as the press release says, to MLS. And he's been... This always gets me, how contracts and things is all done through the league directly rather than through the club. But there we go. So he's been on loan to MLS, and he's been playing at Minnesota United so far this season. He's played in 10 games. He's only scored twice. And he's only played 261 minutes of football. And in that time, he's also had a sending off.
From Boca Juniors.
He's been on loan from Boca Juniors, yeah. I can understand why they've loaned him out. I'm very unsure on this one because we're on good form. I can understand from a injury perspective because we don't have really anyone to back up apart from Bolivar. That's literally it because Soga, as we'll come on to in a moment, has now gone out on loan. We're very light up top at the moment, so I can understand it from a depth point of view from there. But I know one of the guys asked me about Abia and whether he's going to be starting and things like that. So I don't see him. He's not a starter. He's an impact sub, if anything. If he can nick a goal or two, happy days. But I don't expect to see fireworks from him. Let's put it that way, unless he's getting sent off again.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it as well. I mean, I think he's just a guy you're going to put in to stick his elbows out and to, get a little grit in the game. I also, whenever a team signs someone, I don't think about that player playing. I think about that player in practice and what they're looking for that player to bring in. From what I was reading about him, I mean, he seems like a strong forward that maybe they're trying to push onto Kamara maybe a bit more, maybe Reina a bit more. So, I mean, I think, and he's 31 years old. He's a vet. Yeah. So I think, he's going to at least bring some knowledge to the team.
Yeah. And then there's the whole salary impact for us as well, which I think is another reason why we've picked him up off the waivers. I think he's on $1 million a year, but our contribution to that is only 200,000. So we're not actually taking a huge hit on this. It's a no-lose situation. If he doesn't do anything for us, we've not lost a huge amount on the salary cap.
Yeah.
But if he does something, well, we've already spent 200K on the salary cap. So for me, that's a win. Daniel, any thoughts on it?
It's 200K against the salary cap, but as far as this goes, I believe it was just a season-long loan type of thing. So I think he's out at the end of the year anyway. So as far as that goes, that's going to be kind of sorry about it. As far as that goes, that's going to be sort of a wash at the end of the season anyway. He'll be back to Argentina. It makes me wonder about the situation with Eric Sorga. I don't necessarily think it's a thing where Sorga is... I don't know if he's frustrated or anything like that, but, I think it's good to send him over to Europe. That's probably a place where he's more comfortable. For better or worse, a guy like Sorga, you don't want necessarily wasting away on the bench. And I think give him time to go back to Europe, maybe get some minutes under his belt, come back fresh, and just see how he fits in the system next season. I feel for him. He was actually kind of a signing that I was pretty hyped for last year. But with the pandemic, things were so very start and stop, and a lot of teams got pushed, or thrown into flux, and players had to kind of deal with that. So I think this could be a rejuvenating move for him, and we can see where he's at next spring.
Yeah, I know which you've nicely done the next bit of news about Sorga moving on loan to the Netherlands. So he's playing at Venlo, but he's there for the entirety of their actual season. So he won't be back until the summer of 2022.
Oh, is that okay?
So he's there for a full season. So he will get hopefully a good amount of game time.
Yep.
You spoke about your excitement when he joined us. So his record in Estonia was like at a rate of a goal a game.
Yeah.
He was at Kamara level right now. Not quite elite like Kamara is right now, because Kamara is a goal every 61 minutes. I think it is 61, 63 minutes.
You say there's no train, but
he's not on a train. He wasn't on a train there. He was in Estonia, but his trainer's become a bit of a slow coach. And he just needs that extra fueling, bit more coal in his engine, and Sorga will be choo-chooing down the track. Yeah. I'm sorry about the train puns.
enjoyed them.
That was awful. I'm just going to move swiftly on to about Kevin Paredes. The last bit of news in this segment. Tom, I'm going to come to you because it ruined your lunch, didn't it?
It ruined my lunch. It's funny because I really like Red Bull Salzburg. I actually nearly did a year abroad studying there. And, part of my family's from the Graz area. So I was like, oh, like Austria. And then I was also like, it's Paredes. I don't want to see Paredes go. But here's the thing. He's really good. He's young. Yep. He's only going to get better. And I think we just need to be happy for the time that we have him. And, whether it's a loan, whether it's a full transfer, that's fine. I got my Kevin Paredes jersey already, and I suggest everyone else does the same.
Get them before he's gone.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll be able to do a custom one when he's left if you really want to hang on to those memories.
Oh yeah, it's all about the sort of the first number or the early number. So if he stays, another year and changes his number, then you can be like, oh, I had
the OG.
I had 30.
Yes, KP 30.
Right.
Yeah, taking it, and Messi took influence from that and took the same number.
And then Messi copied his hero.
Yeah, I mean. So for me, KP now stays at number 30 for the rest of his career because of what Messi's done. And, it has to be done. Yeah. Daniel, your thoughts on a potential move for Paredes to Austria?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's part of soccer. When these, really talented wonder kids come up and absolutely light it up. You do have that in the back of your head. Okay, yeah, at a certain point, this kid's going to move on to bigger and better things. But I mean, that's life. And, gosh, I'm not one to, be like, be terrible to lose. Of course, it's tough to find this age of kid who can make the impact that he makes. The way he absolutely, in the Montreal game, the way he harried one of those Montreal defenders, sort of in a weird situation where the keeper kind of hit this or passed a wayward ball that didn't quite end up in the right spot, and he absolutely went Wolverine on the guy, and yeah, man, it's going to be tough to find someone who, one, just has that type of raw energy that matches the intensity, and then, just the general skill that the kid has. I hope it's not an outright transfer. I hope he gets some experience in Europe, and maybe we get a couple more years with him, just so that he can get some experience, maybe just get better sort of situational awareness, because that's sort of like, if there's a weakness to kind of pick out of his game, it is kind of that situational wherewithal. But no, God, he's just a fantastic kid. So whatever happens, I hope DC makes a good amount of money out of it. That's the business.
Yeah, it is. It's at some point, MLS will get to a level where we will be able to keep a hold of these really good prospects that are coming through all the academies and through this new MLS Next Development League. But as it is right now, we've got to realize that, I mean, the dream is obviously for a lot of these kids to go out and play in Europe and play with the best clubs in the world, like your Manchester United, and your Barcelonas and your Borussia Dortmunds, Bayern Munich's, your Juventus types of clubs, even your Middlesbroughs of this world.
You mentioned Middlesbrough before Arsenal.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've got it. Even your Arsenals of this world.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go, Daniel. And we've got to know the big thing that we need to do is make sure we're going to make that initial transfer fee, but we need to make sure that one, they don't end up coming back to a rival club, because we all know Salzburg, Red Bull Salzburg, it's part of the Red Bull group, and we all know what other teams they own, especially one in MLS. We don't want a loan coming back to them, or move to a Citigroup team and going to the other New Jersey team. So, we don't want that kind of thing to happen. So we want that kind of clause in there, and we want a sell-on fee as well. Because if they then transfer them to another club, we want to make money down the road. That's how you get good business. But at some point, we will get to a level where this league knows that it can keep those kind of players, and it will just even elevate the league even further. So for me, I don't want him to leave before the end of the year. Right. That's the big. I think we need to at least keep him for 2021. If it means that he moves in January, then so be it. But we need to get this year out of him, because we need to keep him whilst the iron's hot, because he is playing very, very well at the moment. And we don't want to lose out on that, because we need every player that we've got, because, we'll get everyone fit, and then lo and behold, we'll just have another injury crisis yet again.
Yeah, I would like to see a January, maybe a team that sort of needs the help on one of the wings, pick him up in January for a loan, and then, hopefully he does well.
Yeah, definitely. Right, we're moving to the match catch-up time. So last week's game, as you guys know, you will have seen on the old Twitter feed or any social medias that I unfortunately didn't catch up with this game, because right after the podcast last week, I ended up being very, very ill, like unbelievably ill, so sick that I ended up in the bathroom for the rest of the night after recording. So yeah, that was a bit of a bad weekend. So I didn't catch up with the game. I did feel better on the evening of the game, and instead of thinking, it'll be fine, I'll just watch the game, I thought, you know what, best to get the sleep in, make sure I am ready. Yeah. So it's the first game I've missed all season, but I have got some stats for you guys, as always. So let's run down the stats for the game. So obviously the score, we won 2-1, as Tom rightly predicted. Possession-wise, we had 48.9% to Montreal's 51.1%. Shots, we had a grand total of 18 to their 6. We had 8 on target to their 2. We were only caught offside the once to their 3 times. Fouls, we committed 16 fouls and they committed 13 fouls. And then the expected goals for this game was, we were expected to score 1.5 goals and they were expected to score 0.6. So the result was correct. The fact that we won this game, we did outplay them. But this is now up to you guys to talk about the game, because, I've only seen the highlights. I didn't really get a true reflection of how the game went. So how did it go?
Well, here's the thing. 16 minutes in, Nashville drew first blood. And
Nashville? Nashville.
He's getting ready for next week.
He's getting ready for next game.
Next week.
This is where his predictions go.
I got a lot going up in here. No, so Montreal drew first blood, and it was a nice little goal by Zachary Gillard, and there was a time. And I did feel this, sort of after that was like, oh boy, there was a time before this where DC, as soon as the other team scored the first goal, DC almost kind of like curled up into their shell. And it wasn't necessarily attack. It was always just, oh, please God, don't let them score again. And that was, whether that was kind of like a Benny Ball thing, or if it was just, not necessarily having the right mentality, but what happened in this game was a complete shift after the fact. So a lot of it was very back and forth. The first half, not a ton of action aside from that first goal. But we did get Andy Nahar with a sweet little assist from Julian Gressel, where we came and tied it up in the 40th minute. And that was kind of like the start of something. It felt different at that point. I was like, okay, I felt kind of good going into that second half. So from there, obviously, Ola came in, scored his next goal, added to his tally and put us ahead 2-1. And I couldn't believe it, because you never really saw that before, where a team drew first blood and then DC would come back and get the win. Best we could really hope for was maybe to tie it up. But to see them not only tie it up, but also get the win was really incredible. And they kept going too. Like I said, even late in the game, you had Skundrich going in for an absolute rocket and kind of getting a good look at it too. He kind of came in, I think a rebound kind of shot type of thing. It was rolling to him, but he had to go. And I don't think it was a very well on target shot, but he even had to go. And this team just like kept going after the fact. And that just shows the mentality reset that Lasada has brought in. And really, that is my main takeaway from this game, is that this team, not saying that they were quitters before, but this is a no quit. Whatever is going to come against us, they're going to absolutely answer it and then win. So that, I think that was just a really great statement from them, and probably a big reason why the league respects this team now.
Yeah. Just looking back on your notes, Tom, you mentioned something about Brion and how well he played in that game. So go for it.
Yeah,
what was good about him?
He's such a commanding. It's interesting. He's such a commanding player in that back line, and he's not like your massive center back that's gonna knock everyone down. But like he's got some grit on him, and he will step forward into any 50-50 with an iron knee, and he's fantastic. I thought he controlled that back line that they have currently. I want that same back line every time.
Yeah. And then there's the whole thing about Kempen as well. So obviously he let that goal in, but he only got tested one at a time. What was his performance overall like?
So big sigh. No, I mean, he's good. The goal, we can see this. It's unlucky. The guy was clearly trying to cross it, and it just hit Kempen wasn't ready for it. And that happens. But yeah, I'm certainly more nervous with him in goal than Bill. So hopefully Bill will get healthy soon and we'll see him back out. Otherwise, with the game was great. I thought we were going to honestly be up 4-0 in the first 20 minutes because we had so many shots. Paredes nearly scored 8 minutes in. He had a pretty good one-on-one and went near post. But the Andy Nahar goal, I really took notice into, mainly because I like to look when there's a set piece goal. I like to see who's doing what and did they mean it? Mm-hmm. And you can tell that this was a play that they planned out, which is really cool. So you saw that there was Andy Nahar and he has Alfaro next to him. And Alfaro is running with the defender and pushes Andy. So creating Andy to be in the space while Ola Kamara ran in front. And the guy that was guarding Andy sees Ola and goes with Ola, and Andy's just there by himself. And, I was just maybe they did mean this. But I don't know. It was a great goal. And, Alfaro, he's a new signing, and I think he's been great. He's one of those supporting cast members where I'm that dude has been fantastic for this team. And I want to see him in the starting lineup regularly.
Okay. I'm a little bit on the fence about Alfaro because I think for me, he's not been consistent enough. So you look at some of the performance, he has a great performance in him. He can do very, very well, but he also has that moments of madness in him. So you look at, I can't remember which game it was, but we were pushing up and I think we were tied 1-1. And it's coming to the sort of the closing moments of the game. And you just see Alfaro he sees the ball in midfield, easily taken care of by the midfield. Like Moreno, Canals, whoever was there, they could have easily taken care of it. Now, Alfaro has to bump up. Obviously, that means the midfielders are going to leave it. Alfaro just doesn't get anywhere near it. The opponent team then plays the ball over the top where Alfaro should have been, and we go and concede a goal. So he has that in him, and then that's the bit I get a little bit nervous about, is the fact that he still has that in him, and I'm not sure whether he's a regular starter when we've got a fully fit back line.
Yeah,
because I think we talked about it a couple of shows ago, Daniel, who would be our back line. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was going to be like Heinz, Ike, Pines, and Birnbaum. That would be my back three right there. Alfaro would be on the bench. That's how I see him. So yeah, for me, Alfaro's that little bit of a player who's a little bit shaky.
Yeah, I mean, I think while there are people out currently, I think he should occupy that spot. I mean, especially with last game, I just felt that he was very confident and he wasn't making mistakes. He seemed very good. So it's going to be a learning process for him throughout the season. Yeah. So
I'm happy for him not to make mistakes. Obviously, it's great. The less mistakes, the better. But yeah, and you talk about the confidence, and you talk about those kind of things. And I know a big phrase that's been used up a lot recently is momentum, and how great the momentum is behind the club right now. And now Ola Kamara, in his hype train of a press conference, used the word momentum and how good it's been. And I know you talked about it in your notes about, are we going to take this momentum into the next match? And the fact that we've had the extra rest in midweek, we've not had that midweek game that we've had recently. Are we going to take this momentum that we've got at the moment into Nashville, Tom? And are we going to bring back 3 points?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's my prediction. I think we're going to, I did well with a 2-1 win last time, so I went with a 2-1 win again this time. I think it's going to be close, mainly because Nashville's got a rough recent record, while DC's got a great one. DC's had the extra rest, but yeah, I think they're going to keep the fire going. And we'll probably have, go up 2-1 in like the 60th, 70th, and then we're just going to hold on for dear life. But yeah, I think DC United is going to win it.
Fair. And just to kind of give you guys out there just that rounded feeling about what's going to happen this weekend, we've got a couple of notes about how Nashville have been doing recently. They've got 2 points out the last 9, and they've recently been beaten by Inter Miami. There is that dramatic pause there for a reason. It's Inter Miami, the pink flamingo herons or whatever they have on their shirts.
The fact Phil that Neville long bottoms.
Oh, honestly, being beat by a Phil Neville team, that's got to be really embarrassing. So we've got to be wary of that backlash there. They've only won once in the last 5 games. That was against Cincinnati. So that's not really a difficult thing. I know we made it difficult for ourselves. We got that tie, but we had extenuating some circumstances with that. But they've only had 1 defeat in the last 5 and 3 ties. So we've talked about that defeat that they've had. Their 3 games that they tied were against Columbus Crew, Toronto, and New England Revolution. And the other thing that we're going to be wary of is they are the king of the draws in this league. They've had 10 draws so far, which is the most in MLS. And at home so far, they've had 6 wins and 5 ties. And they're unbeaten at home. So a victory on paper looks quite unlikely. But if there's going to be any team that's going to be able to do it, it's going to be us, isn't it, Daniel?
Let me give you one stat here. I don't know if you've kept up with this or if you have any knowledge off the top of your head, but there is only one team this year that has a winning road record. Do you know what that team is?
Us?
Anyone?
DC?
No.
It's definitely not DC.
I was just going to throw that in there. I had to,
New England.
No.
Nashville.
It's actually it's NYCFC. And mostly because it's the fact that they're playing away from a baseball stadium that is probably giving them they come into an away stadium and they're like, oh, this is a real soccer field. Oh, this feels nice. Oh,
where's the sand?
This doesn't
are you counting the games at Red Bull Arena as well?
Yeah, true. But here's the thing. This is there was a stat that went out, and I feel bad that I can't find it, but it's not necessarily a team problem, it's a league problem, but there is such a significant home field advantage for league wide. That since 2015, I want to say that the home records for all teams is something like 75%. And then you're going down to 25%. Obviously for those road records, and then you're only looking at like 52% for draws. So this is a significant factor that's kind of influencing where I'm going. And I'm also going to say my number 2 factor in this game is CJ Sapong. As far as I've followed this team, CJ just tends to kind of come alive when he plays DC. So for what it's worth, I don't think they're going to give up more than one goal. But I believe Sapong will get that goal. And you know what? It's going to be the way that left side of Nashville kind of works together between Levitz, McCarty, and Sapong. Two of those guys they're good players, and they're a big reason why Nashville has had a pretty explosive first season there. So I am going to say that, it's going to be really tough going into that stadium. And I tell you what, Nashville has grown a really nice atmosphere. And that is a soccer hungry town. You've even seen it kind of before the team came along. They had some national team games and they showed up. It's going to be a loud game. It's going to be a rowdy stadium. And somehow, Alfaro is going to, or at least that's how I think that's going to line up, is going to have to figure out something, how to deal with Sapong, or for what it's worth, Losada is going to have to figure out how to lock him down. And the fact that Nashville kind of lines up in a very aggressive 3-5-2 is going to be a tough thing. This is going to be a battle of who's going to get that positioning. Is our high press, is our midfield up to the task of kind of locking down Nashville, and how is Nashville going to kind of respond to that? So that is kind of my big key factor there is locking down Sapong, and Kempen has to be on top of his game, and I think we can get a goal out of this. I think we'll get a goal from Kamara, and we will come out with this 1-1 draw. It's going to be anticlimactic, but I will be very happy coming away from Nashville with 1 point.
Fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't complain with a point, because it means we haven't been beat, obviously. But you know what? As always, as every single prediction so far this season, it's a win for DC United, obviously. I'm going with Tom's prediction on this one. It is a 2-1 for me as well. Mainly because, as we've both said, they don't concede too many goals, but it's going to be a close game. It's not going to be like your 4-2 that we did against the Crew. It's going to be 2-1. I'm seeing a very tight game. I'm seeing plenty of fouls in this game as well. Yep. I'm seeing Jesus in the stands. Because they have their guitaring Jesus. I don't know. I think that's what it is. I think that was a guitar of Moses.
Yes,
it's a guitaring religious figure, isn't it?
Yes, it is Moses, though.
Yeah,
because in Nashville, I mean, Jesus, that's a little sacrilegious right there.
Sorry, whoops.
Them Southern boys, you don't touch Jesus.
Or George Bush.
Or George Bush, exactly.
A little fact, I've met him.
I
Really?
have.
Yeah.
I've seen him. He came to
Yeah.
Aberdeen. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually shook hands and spoken to George Bush.
Junior
That's
or
cool.
senior?
Junior.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll just go off a little sidetrack here, just to give you a little story. So back when I was 15, so this has gone back many, many years ago now, when Bush was president and we had Tony Blair as our prime minister.
Yep.
Ugh, those were
It's
the
all coming back
I was
to
gonna
me.
say
Man.
great times.
yay. So Tony Blair, his constituency, his area was where I lived. Brilliant, yay. And he thought, what a great idea to bring George Bush to his local town that he doesn't live in or have been for many years. And he went to the local pub. So there's a picture of George Bush drinking a pint, which is quite hilarious. And he decided to come to the local school to see what the local kids were all up to. Little things about how you got into and out of our town, stroke village, because it's on the border of whether it's a village or a town. You had to go through the back of a police van. So you couldn't just drive in and you couldn't just drive out. You had to go to the race course, get into the back of a police van and be escorted out, which was hilarious. That was just like, what are we doing? Every manhole cover was welded shut.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it was just after, so it would have been 2003. So,
okay, yeah.
So you can kind of understand the reasons behind the extra security levels, basically.
Yeah.
So we get to the day that he's coming in, and we're all taken to assembly, and there's a lot of us who were chosen to do different things. So a lot of kids were chosen to do football. A lot of kids were doing gym stuff. The other kids were doing just standing there and just waving American flags. I was chosen to be a teacher for the day, which was, I was like, oh, okay. And I was teaching PE. So we were doing soccer practice, and in this assembly, I was taken away and was going, right. So there's certain things that you can and can't do when he arrives. And I was like, right, okay, what is that? There's certain phrases you're not allowed to say. So, right. Okay, so we're playing football. So what can't I say? You can't say shoot. It's like,
yep.
Right, okay,
yep.
but we're doing shooting practice. So how am I going to do that? And then you can't say bomb it down the wing. That's the one I remember. That's my favorite.
Yes.
I remember, can't say bomb down. I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you doing to me? I'm 15. I'm just like, all right, whatever. So
I love how specific that is too.
That's very good.
So it comes up, and we get to the end of this meeting, and like, right, okay. So when you rise, just make sure you say hello, sir. How are you, sir? Make sure you use the words, sir. It's like, okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah, I remember that. I being the northerner, the friendly northern bloke, friendly northern lad that I was at the time. So you see him. He arrives in his chopper. That lands in the school field. He gets the armor plate car, which is about that thick of armor.
Yeah.
He's then walking down, and the teacher who teaches me PE, there's me and her, we're just stood next to each other. We're swearing our heads off because we were absolutely pooing ourselves. Because you're just seeing all these security guards, you're seeing the Secret Service, you're seeing everything.
So weird, yeah.
And then you look at the school roof. Oh, you just know, you're just your friendly snipers pointing at you. I'm like, what is going on? He walks down, he opens the gate, they walk in. Tony Blair comes up, shakes hands, and then George Bush comes up, shake hands, and he says hello. And I said, you all right there? How are you doing? Forgot to say sir or anything like that. I was like, yeah, you all right? How are you doing? And he just looks at me and just went, and just glares at me. And I'm like, I mean, to be fair, mate, you're just another bloke. I don't care. I don't care that you're the president of the United States.
I know you are.
You're just another person to me. And it is awful talking on a podcast that mainly goes out to America. But I'm sorry if you're a fan of George Bush, but the stereotype about him being a bit
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true.
I met Clinton when I was about five or six.
Nice.
And I was dressed as a reindeer. Yeah.
Why were you
Yeah,
dressed as a reindeer? I'm guessing it was Christmas. Or were you just dressed as a reindeer for fun?
It was for it was July. Because my dad used to work for Reuters as editor, so he was on the DC office for it, and so they invite all the press and whatnot to the parties. So we got invited, and I don't think I knew who he was, but I found out later there's a picture. Wow. I'll send you it if I find it.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a picture of me meeting George Bristol. I'll send that to you. I mean, just be wary.
Brilliant.
It's a lot younger. I have hair and I am incredibly skinny and very white. I mean, milk bottle white. Let's put it that way. You need sunglasses if you were looking at me. Let's put it that way. Anyway, let's get back onto football, shall we?
Well, I was about to answer or ask a question about Tony Blair, but then I got my English prime ministers confused, and that question does not apply anymore.
Fair enough. Fair dues. So let's move on. Let's just wrap up the predictions. So Daniel, you're a 1-1.
Yes.
Tom, you're a 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a 2-1. So we'll find out on the next episode whether we're right or we're wrong.
If it's a tie, we're never going to hear the end of it.
No, don't.
Don't. I'm gonna. And here's the thing. I said, hey, here's your in. I lobbied for you. I was your advocate, Tom. I was your.
It's
advocate.
just a very Arsenal thing to pick a tie.
Fair enough. But I mean, hey, once I got those stats about sort of like league wide road like that is shocking, and I don't know how that compares to other leagues and whatnot, but that really threw me for a loop.
And I suppose it depends also whether we play in the black and red or we play in marble as well, because we've only had one win in marble so far.
Oof.
But that was the last game. We were in marble, so
true. Yeah.
We're on a streak at the moment, I would say, in marble jerseys. If you can call a 1-game winning streak a streak. Anyway, should we answer some fan questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So a friend of mine who works at the same company as I do, his name's Adam, and he actually won the jersey at the start of the season. He does the thing called the Hopeless Wanderer podcast, which is a podcast about football over here, whether it's in England or whether it's Europe or it's football in general. But he's asked, who surprised you the most in MLS this season? So, Tom, I'm going to come to you first.
Trying to not be biased, but it's Ola Kamara.
Yeah. I think it has to be Ola Kamara.
I hate to be like, well, it's our top scorer. But no, I mean, considering what change he's made from last season to this season, and he's in the race for the Golden Boot. Yeah. I mean, he's my go-to for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you've gone from him scoring just the 3 goals last year to scoring a goal every 62, 63 minutes. Yeah. And it's not a case that he's just been coming off the bench every now and again and just getting a goal every few games. It's the fact that he's starting games and he still got that record. It's fantastic. He's
got that finesse shot just perfect every time now.
Oh, he is just
straight out of FIFA.
I mean, you look back to his first goal for the club on his debut against the New Jersey Metro Stars. That was a proper finesse into that top corner.
Yeah.
And he's just continued ever since doing that, apart from last season. Daniel, who surprised you most in MLS this season?
Well, considering, Kamara has come a long way. And I was convinced at a certain point, like he was going to be an absolute bust. So not to kind of keep repeating, even though this is the Kamara hype train, I'm going to go with Moses Nyman. Fantastic.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, and really, as I've said, just I am totally behind this kid, just with the maturity and kind of sharpness he shows on the field. He's a kid who I want, kind of like I hope he's kind of like a longtime DC United guy. He's got kind of a really bright future ahead of him. Obviously, like Paredes is another super bright youngster, and I hope we keep more of these young kids than we lose. Nyman is going to be someone I'm going to watch for a good long while.
Yeah, definitely. And just thinking about young players there, and not even DC related, so this is going to be a surprise. It's that kid from SKC, Cowell. He has been an absolute revelation for them this season. He's been fantastic. So he's been a massive surprise for me. For someone so young to be able to, he took that responsibility on right at the beginning of the season, and he just rolls with it. So for me, he's been a nice little surprise. And another one, I'm just going to throw another one. Gabriel Heinz, how bad he was, and his questionable coaching methods.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew he was a bit of a hothead, but it was surprising how hot-headed he was, and the lack of water giving in the training sessions. I think that was one of the big things that came out from after he left. From, I think Martinez was saying how they just weren't allowed to have a water break or anything like that. They just had to keep training, and they just had nothing left.
I'm in the Maryland, DC area, and a thing with the Maryland football team happened where, someone died, and it's like, you can't be doing that. What? That is, yeah. Oh, it's horrible. Yeah. Completely got dehydrated, had heat stroke. Oh, terrible. Yeah. Gabriel Heinz, he pushed them too much. And it's like, yeah, you want to get results, but you also need to care about the players.
Yes, definitely.
And kind of going along that lines, another kind of terrible bit of news that's coming out of DC is the Richie Burke situation with the Washington Spirit. The article comes from the Washington Post, but I retweeted it earlier today, and boy, that is a tough read, because there's coaching tough and expecting a lot from your players, which is, very much kind of like the approach that Losada takes. But then, there's too many coaches out there, and this is not a new thing, but there are coaches who are glorified for taking it that step too far. And, whether or not there's this weird sort of encroachment of Navy SEALs or military people who are consulting businesses and organizations and whatnot. And it's I don't know if these are people who are kind of taking a lot of really tough lessons to heart and taking it too far. Cause you just kind of see this guy and the methods he took with these players is awful. And so you were talking about kind of these water breaks. Well, these women, they almost kind of feared taking water breaks because he would kind of use that as an opportunity to berate them in front of their teammates and not necessarily about missing chances or whatever, but absolutely calling them awful names, and then basically threatening their livelihoods and their jobs right on the spot. And so that sucks, and good that these sort of toxic coaches are being ousted. He hasn't been fully ousted from the Spirit. I think he's resigned, but he's been moved to a front office
role.
Position. So no, it sucks. The Spirit should absolutely get rid of this guy, because he even had this behavior in the youth level. and these were stories that were corroborated, and that's absolutely shameful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I saw something about that in a little while ago, and I was surprised that he was still hired as coach. And you're thinking those accusations, they don't generally have a reason just for a random accusation. So at that kind of level, it was just, it then just got swept under the carpet. And now obviously this has come out and he's been found out rightly.
Yeah. And I mean, big props to the players that are speaking out. I mean, that's tough to do in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Next question. Moving on from that is from David.
Wait, one sec. Sorry, guys. I gotta do one thing.
Yeah.
We'll
carry on without you. We'll move on. Yeah. So Daniel, David has asked. So David is from DC United Kingdom. He's in the group. So if you're not part of the group, come and join us because the chat is absolutely insane at the moment. Every single day, my watch is going off like an absolute. I won't say that word. I had to refrain myself.
A banshee.
Yeah, a banshee. Yes. Yes. So come and join us. Head to dcunitedkingdom.com/membership. You can get yourself an exclusive member t-shirt if you become a paid member. If you don't want to become a paid member and you want to buy some merch, get yourself a little flag. Or something like this. I don't think you can get this kind of shirt anymore, but if you want one, let me know and I'll get one made for you.
Oh, I want one.
You want one of these? Let me know. I'll get one made up for you. It will be slightly different logo on the front because this is the old logo where I no longer have the stars anymore. I did drop those because it was just taking up too much room. But anyway, I was just about to go on to David's question that he asked, which was, is Felipe Martins permanently reduced to a sub-role in the Losada system? So when Knaus returns, who sits on the bench? Is it Knaus or is it Felipe? And for me, Knaus is a guaranteed starter. Yeah. It would be Knaus and Moreno. I would love it. I'm going to do my best Kevin Keegan impression. I would love it if it was Knaus and Nyman. That's who I would love to have.
That's a good pairing.
As a good central midfield. But the way Moreno is playing at the moment, he's playing really, really well. So a Knaus Moreno or a Knaus Nyman, that would be my starting two central midfielders.
Yeah, I think it's Moreno's. Once Knaus comes back, it's Moreno's spot to lose.
Yeah.
I love Knaus. I mean, I said last week that I want to see him play. I want to see him drop back and play center back. But if it happens, it happens. But it probably won't. I'd see that Knaus and Nyman pairing being really good. But for Felipe, he's a good player, but he hasn't really played this season. I mean,
no, he's not. I know he's had that major injury at the end of last year, and whether it's just been a case he's struggled to come back from that, and obviously it's a brand new system that he's suddenly come back into. Whether he's just struggled to adapt. I love the guy. I think he's absolutely a brilliant person, and I've loved what he's done since he's joined the club. I think he's been a fantastic servant, but I don't think he's now in the shape to be a starter anymore. We've had players who've took their opportunities, like Moreno has. He's really come on leaps and bounds since he's come back from international duty. So, Daniel, any thoughts on that? Is Felipe permanently on the bench?
Yeah, look, he is a guy who I think we all, as a podcast, as a people in a supporter group, I think we all love him being on the team. But you're right; it's just, he's a great guy. He's a great enforcer to bring out. If the other team needs to kind of be put in place, if he needs to crack some skulls, he's the guy to kind of get out there. I think he offers a certain kind of spark at that in those moments to fire up the team. But yeah, no, I don't see him as that 90 to, or 75 to 90 minute guy.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's a shame, but he's on the wrong side of 30 as well now.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. But if it means that he winds down his career at DC United as a backup player, I'm happy for it. I'm all for it, because it'd be a great player in the dressing room and to have around the youngsters and show them that actually there's a way to do grit in the game, and he will be the great player to actually show them how to do that. Next question came over from Instagram, Quantico 2005, if you want to go and head over and follow them, has asked, what would make a successful season, or what would be the bare minimum from DC United? What would be a successful season for us?
I would say, it's hard because it's Lasada's first year, right?
Yeah.
But it's also been very good. I think, top of the line, I'm very happy with the season is we make playoffs without being worried in the last, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I would be very happy with that. And then, I'll take anything above that too. Yeah. If we push in playoffs, that's great.
So that's successful. So what is the bare minimum for this season? What would be good enough?
I mean, we could lose our I'm in the point where we could lose like our last 8 games straight, and I would be like, still a pretty good season, like we could lose. Oh, yeah. And I would be like, it's tough. It's Lasada's first year, but we have to look at the positives. I would like to see us make playoffs.
Cool. Daniel.
Yeah.
What is a successful season for you then?
Honestly, my bare minimum successful season is honestly like 5 games ago. Coming into this season, you even saw it from me. In fact, like I have changed my tune so thoroughly.
Yeah.
And while I'm still on that, somewhat negative level, this team has it's galvanized me to a point where like I suddenly feel happy coming into games. So yeah, they've reached my bare minimum, and like Tom said, barring catastrophe, like yeah, we've already gotten there. But yeah, if they lose the next game, honestly, I don't think that's even possible. Lasada has brought this team kind of from the brink of wherever they were at the beginning of the season, and he has made them just the tightest group of fighters. And it's a total tonal shift from last year to this year. And to be completely honest, yeah, like my minimum has been surpassed by miles. So at this point, yeah, I already think it's successful. I don't see it. I don't see this team slipping, to be honest, like below the playoff line. So yeah, I'm happy where they're at. Do I think there's an MLS Cup run in them? I wouldn't even go that far at this point. So, if they get quarterfinals, hey, I'm a happy little sailor over here. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, for me, it's again, I'm going to echo what you said about bare minimum being already reached. I think we're already there. We've already beaten 2020.
Yeah,
we're already there, so that's great. And the success story for me so far this year has been how Lasada's changed the mindset. Not even just the results; it's just the fact that we've changed the mindset of one, the players knowing that they can go out and outscore the opponent. But 2, he's changed the mindset of the fans as well, knowing that your pessimism now, Daniel, is a draw. It's not a defeat, it's a draw. You've gone from being way down here to being to about here. And by the end of the season, you'll be up here.
Oh, we'll see.
We'll see. But
when playoffs come, we'll see where I'm at. But oh boy, yeah, it's going to be a ride.
Yeah, I think a successful season would be making the playoffs, and a really successful season would be making it past the first round.
Yeah,
that's got to be when we make the playoffs. The next target, because targets change throughout the year, and that's what we've seen. We saw what Lasada said on the podcast at the beginning of the season, that the season was a transitional season. He wasn't expecting anything from it. He was just expecting to see the philosophy change. There was no expectation on results. There was no expectation on league standings. Now we've got to mid-August, and we're talking about, we're pretty much there for the playoffs. We're already talking about how far are we going to go in the playoffs now, rather than thinking, are we going to make it? So for me, now is the next successful step is, how far do we go? How do we make it past that first round? Do we break that duck of the Ben Olsen era where we couldn't get it past the first game? Even if we make it past the first game, then what's the next step? What's the next step? Do we take it one game at a time, or do we go, we're in the playoffs, we're going all the way? Would that be the success? Anything else would be unsuccessful. That's got to be the next sort of discussion that we have, and we'll have that discussion later on in the year when we've made that line and we get into we've guaranteed the playoff positions, I think. So that's my view anyway. That was quite a bit of a take on that. I went off on a bit.
No, you're right. I was at that Columbus game. That was the year my dad and I got season tickets. And
that was the extra time one.
Yeah.
That was a great game. Even though we got
really
beat,
good
it was
game.
Fantastic.
Really good game. But I was just like, we get here, they fought their way to get into the playoffs, and they fought and got home field advantage in the game against Columbus. And it was so mad that day.
Yeah, I remember staying up and watching that game, and I must have gone to bed at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning because of the fact that I went extra time and I went to penalties. And I just remember just watching it and seeing De Leon score that equalizer. Oh my Lord. I went absolutely ballistic in here. I was just going crazy. It was just the atmosphere. And it wasn't just the fact that the atmosphere was coming from the supporter group stand, the Chico stand. It was the fact that it was coming from everywhere. Everywhere was loud. Yes. And that genuinely, that came through on the broadcast as well. And I just had the hairs on my arms were standing on edge. The back of my neck was just going goosebumply. It was just... it's amazing. I would love to have been there. That would have been something else. Absolutely.
It was, it's Audi Field is really nice because you just have... It doesn't matter where you sit in Audi Field.
Yeah.
You're going to have a good view of the game.
Yeah.
And that's like the symbol of it. I remember going to the games when it was the first season there. In fact, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Had to get a soda cup.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and the club level where they now have those nice little bar areas, lounges. We were playing games and we still had the tractors, all the dump trucks and everything under that were still building the stadium. Yeah. Because they didn't finish in time.
Whoops.
Yeah, right.
A bit like Segra Field.
Yeah.
There's a theme going on here with DC stadiums here. They just never get finished.
Yeah. That's actually it's a DC theme in general.
Enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Anywhere.
We've got one last question to answer, and this comes from long-time listener Rithik Patel. So thank you for sending this one in. And to be honest, I think we've pretty much already answered it. So we're just going to get some final thoughts on this. So thoughts on One Shop's arrival and the KP to Red Bull Salzburg rumors. So Tom, final thoughts on the One Shop arrival?
I'm fine with the arrival. If we have an injury, I'll be happy that we have him, and we didn't spend $1 million on it. So
yeah, fair.
It's good for us.
Cool. And then Daniel, I'm going to come to you about the second half of that question, which is the final thoughts on the KP to Salzburg rumors.
Yeah, like I said, Paredes, I hope the world for him. I hope he ends up wearing Arsenal red at some point. That would be fantastic. And as far as the other part, I hope Sorga gets some much needed experience. He's a young talent. I hope he develops well. And I think this is more of a thing that'll push Reyna than Kamara, because Kamara is coming on his own. Reyna, it took a while for him to find his stride, but he did have a couple good recent performances. So hopefully this is something that like keeps him sharp. And yeah, like you said, nice sub to have up top for when that's needed.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, that comes us to an end now. So I just want to thank you guys again for coming on, for taking the time to come out and do this recording, even though it failed on the live, and apparently nobody could hear you. I mean, I could hear you, but anyhow, this technology is a wonderful thing. But for the good guys over at home who are listening or watching this on YouTube or wherever it is, Daniel, where can they find you online?
Instagram and Twitter, S Dakota Soccer. I'm happy to chop it up with anyone. Like it's just, I love talking about the game, and come for the spicy memes. I love it.
Spicy memes. There you go. And Tom, for yourself, where can people find you as well?
Sure. So mainly on Twitter at Snitch McConnell, and that if you guys don't know the joke behind that name, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's way over my head, so that's fine. I'm happy for it to go over my head.
It's a name that me and my buddies joke about, Snitch McConnell, which is based off of Mitch McConnell.
Oh, and I knew it the second you came in. I was like, okay, yeah, that's really good.
Mitch McConnell. I'm guessing the name rings a bell, and I'm guessing it. U.S. politics.
Yes, I will send you a couple. I will send you a couple memes.
Nice. I will enjoy. I do enjoy a good meme. A spicy meme.
A good spicy meme. So yeah, follow me at Snitch McConnell on Twitter. I put a lot about football in general. A little biased towards DC United and Manchester United, just a little, but otherwise, love the beautiful game.
There you go. And then for myself, if you're weirdly not following me on any social media, then rude. But if you want to come and follow me on Twitter, it's at DC United Kingdom. On Instagram and Facebook, it's DC United Kingdom FC. As we spoke about earlier in the show, we do have a DC United Kingdom group, so please do come and join us. It is on Twitter for the private chat, so if you want to come and join the mailing list as well, there is that. Just head over to dcunitedkingdom.com/membership. And if you want to come and support the show, there's many different ways of doing it. There's a link, bio.link/DC United Kingdom, but there is things like merchandise, t-shirts, wall tapestry or flag, however you want to put it, pint glasses, socks, you name it. There's things there. And I've just seen I can create some lovely bucket hats as well now. So if you want to get proper English, get yourself well, I'll do a DC UK bucket hat. How about that?
Brilliant.
But that is it for the show. And once again, thank you, Tom and Daniel, for coming on and taking the time to come and talk to me about the black and red. And for you guys listening out there, thank you very much. If you're watching, give us a little subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. And until next time, Vamos United.
Wait, real quick. Real quick. Have you hit stop?
I have not hit stop. You can carry. What is you going to say?
Shout out to Dave Johnson. This was something I just learned about today. I don't know if this was prior announced, but he is currently battling multiple sclerosis, and he had a really touching Twitter post today about sort of his experience, sort of his mother dealing with MS, and now he is dealing with it, and that was shocking to me to find out about that. So, man, great guy, does not deserve that at all, but I am praying for him and his, and he had some links for donating to MS research, and then the Bike MS charity. So if you have some spare change and you can give a donation, go ahead and do that, and we wish the best for you, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely, we do wish you all the best. Yeah. So thank you for that, Daniel. That was actually a great shout on that. So go and give that your chunk of change over to Dave, and onto the charity to help him fight his battle. So on that note, until next time, Vamos United.
Vamos.
Vamos.